Imagine waking up one day believing you finally reached the calmest phase of life, the one where work is behind you. Bills should be more predictable, and money, even if not abundant, should at least be enough to live with dignity. But silently, something starts going wrong. It's not an excessive expense all at once, not a giant impulsive purchase, not an extravagant luxury. It's a much more subtle financial mistake, repeated month after month, almost invisible, and precisely because of this it becomes a main reason for the indebtedness of thousands of retirees. A mistake that doesn't look like a mistake, that seems like a solution, that seems like immediate relief, but in practice, it works like a slow and continuous trap. And most concerning, the majority only notice when they're already caught in it. At first, everything seems justifiable. Income decreases after retirement, but expenses don't disappear. On the contrary, they often increase. Medications, medical appointments, help for family members, silent inflation at the supermarket, basic bills that don't stop rising. The budget that was once balanced starts to get tight. And it's exactly at this moment that the apparently logical decision arises. Supplement income with easy credit, small loans, installments that fit in the pocket, automatic deductions that give a sense of control. After all, if the installment is low, it seems everything is under control. And this is where the mistake begins to solidify. Because the biggest financial mistake that gets retirees into debt the most isn't overspending on luxury, nor investing poorly, nor making risky bets. It's normalizing the continuous use of credit as an extension of income. It's treating loans as supplementary salary. It's transforming an emergency solution into a permanent habit. In the first month, the justification is simple: an unexpected bill. In the second, help for a child or grandchild. In the third, a more expensive medication. In the fourth, inflation that squeezes a budget. And when you realize it, credit is no longer the exception, but part of the financial routine. The mind adapts. The brain starts to consider that additional amount as if it were fixed income, when in reality it's future debt. And this is the most delicate point, the illusion of stability. Because while installments are being automatically deducted, the feeling is one of organization. There's no visible collection, no overdue bill, no collection call. Everything seems silently under control. But behind this silence, something grows. Income commitment increases month after month, reducing financial maneuvering room until any unexpected event becomes a real risk. And life, inevitably, brings unexpected events. An unexpected exam, a house repair, a higher energy bill, a family emergency. When this happens, income is already committed, and then the only alternative that seems available arises: a new loan to cover the previous one. This cycle is psychological, not just financial. The feeling of solving an immediate problem generates emotional relief, and immediate relief reinforces the behavior. It's a silent, repetitive, and extremely common mechanism. Retirement, which should represent stability, becomes accompanied by invisible financial pressure. And there's another factor that makes this mistake even more dangerous: the predictability of the retiree's income. Precisely because they receive a fixed amount, retirees become a highly targeted profile for credit offers. Constant offers, frequent calls, messages promising ease, speed, and security. The narrative is always similar: small installments, quick approval, no bureaucracy. Everything's structured to seem like a solution, never a risk. Over time, the pattern consolidates. The budget starts revolving around installments. Real net income decreases, but perception takes time to follow this change. And then another silent effect emerges: the loss of financial decision-making power. When a large part of income is already committed, freedom of choice disappears. Any new expense needs to be calculated with extreme caution. Any unexpected event generates anxiety, and any new credit offer starts to seem like an inevitable way out. This scenario doesn't happen suddenly. It builds gradually over months or years, and precisely because of this, it's so difficult to notice at the beginning. Another element that intensifies this mistake is the emotional factor of retirement. Many people spend decades working, contributing, planning a dignified rest. When income doesn't meet expectations, or when financial difficulties arise, there's a deep internal conflict. The idea of Tightening the belt again after so many years of work generates silent frustration, and credit appears as a way to preserve quality of life, at least temporarily. The problem is that this temporary becomes permanent, and the more installments accumulate, the lower real available income becomes. In many cases, retirees don't realize their net income is getting smaller and smaller because automatic deductions mask financial reality. And there's another social aggravating factor: family responsibility. Many retirees help children, grandchildren, and relatives, especially during economic crises. This help, often done with good intentions, ends up being financed by credit. The result is a financial overload that doesn't appear explicitly in the budget, but directly impacts long-term stability. And when the sum of these decisions accumulates, the critical point arrives: the snowball effect. Small installments transform into multiple simultaneous financial commitments. Fixed income starts sustaining fixed debts. And any external economic change, inflation, cost increases, changes in the financial scenario, amplifies even more the pressure on the budget. Most alarming is that this mistake isn't linked to lack of discipline, nor lack of responsibility. Most of the time, it's born from the legitimate attempt to maintain stability, dignity, and financial autonomy. But the continuous credit system wasn't created to solve structural income problems. It was created to offer immediate solutions with prolonged impact. And the more predictable the income, the easier it is to approve new credits, feeding the silent cycle of indebtedness. Over time, the impact stops being just financial and becomes emotional. The feeling of constant tightness, worry about the future, insecurity in the face of unexpected events, and the perception that money is never enough begin to affect the tranquility that retirement should provide. And then one of the most critical moments arises when the person realizes they work less, but worry more about money than before. The psychological contrast is profound, because retirement, which symbolized rest, becomes accompanied by constant calculations, financial adjustments, and difficult decisions. And all of this often started with a single mistake repeated several times: transforming credit into income supplement. There's also a structural factor that makes the scenario even worse: silent inflation. Continuous small increases in the cost of living reduce purchasing power over time. What was once enough gradually stops being so, and without proportional adjustment in income, credit appears again as the only available tool to maintain the standard of living. The result is gradual financial dependence. And the longer this dependence, the harder it becomes to get out of it. Because income is already partially committed, the budget is already adjusted to installments, and any attempt at reorganization requires significant changes in lifestyle. Another crucial point is the false sense of security provided by automatic deductions. Since there's no active collection, since everything happens automatically, debt stops being perceived as an urgent problem. But the sum of these installments represents a permanent reduction of available income. And over the years, this reduction can compromise important decisions, from healthcare to daily quality of life. In more critical scenarios, retirees start using credit to pay basic expenses, which indicates that the initial mistake has already evolved into an unsustainable financial cycle. And at this stage, recovery requires awareness, planning, and strategy change. But the first step, inevitably, is understanding the root problem. Because as long as credit is treated as supplementary income, the cycle tends to continue. Retirement requires a different type of financial organization based on predictability, protection against unexpected events, and preservation of purchasing power over time. And any solution that commits future income to solve present problems, when used repeatedly, transforms stability into silent vulnerability. The financial mistake that gets retirees into debt the most isn't explosive, isn't dramatic, isn't immediate. It's discrete, gradual, and cumulative. And precisely because of this, it's so powerful. It hides in routine, disguises itself as a solution, justifies itself as necessity, and, when finally perceived, has already committed a significant part of monthly income. Understanding this pattern isn't just a financial matter, but a matter of preserving tranquility in the phase of life when stability should be absolute priority.